So there's a new development in the fatal shooting on the Rust set involving Alec Baldwin. So according to a new FBI forensic report, the gun Alec was holding when he shot cinematographer Halyna Hutchins could not have gone off without pulling the trigger. So this is important because it contradicts an earlier statement Alec made where he said he never pulled the trigger. Alec's attorney said the FBI report is being, quote, misconstrued. He said when the FBI tested it, the gun fired only one time without having to pull the trigger. The hammer was pulled back and the gun broke in two different places. He added the FBI wasn't able to fire the gun in any prior test, even when pulling the trigger, because it was in such poor condition. This is, listen, still a very sensitive issue. I mean, we talk about it, you know, every time we hear new updates, but again, a child lost their mother, a family lost their loved one. As of now, it looks like Alec is not facing any criminal charges, and he still claims out that he thought the gun was cold. FBI still doesn't even know how the ammo got on set.
Right, and I mean, that's what happens when you don't use a union. When you're not, I mean, we saw the pictures of the gunsmith, whatever you call it. Armorer, you know, and she looked like a young person posing on set because her dad was in the movie. And that's what happens when you do lower budget films and you try and go around the union. Now, a lot of the movies that I love were shot kind of like guerrilla style, you know, shot on an iPhone. But when you do that, you are taking certain risks. So he took a risk as a producer in like hiring whoever he hired. But I don't think that it was intentional. I don't think that any criminal charge, I guarantee you, whatever is going on in his heart and in his stomach and his mind every day is worse than any bars, Jeff.
But criminal charges doesn't have to include intent. You don't have to intend to kill someone to be charged for manslaughter.
Great point.
Negligence, things like that. So if I'm driving a car and the car is defective, but I still hurt someone, I can still be looked at as that could be culpable. The fact that you need force to pull that trigger is why the FBI is involved, and I expect criminal charges to be brought. You don't have the FBI if you're not bringing a criminal charge in the future. Yes, it's all civil right now, but there's no an FBI
investigation. Do you think it's FBI because he's famous?
I think an FBI investigation is, yes, it's very high profile, yes. Okay. But you don't bring them in unless you're looking at possible criminal charges.
What you just said was completely wrong. If your car is defective and there's a recall on it and the brakes lock up or whatever locks up and you smash into somebody, that manufacturer of that car is at fault, not you.
The producer is, just like you said, Alec Baldwin, I agree. But if you're doing something and you're negligent in a way, or you didn't check, or you didn't see this, you can be held responsible just for criminal negligence. Like, I didn't check it enough, or I didn't do this enough. That's on you.
But it's not his job.
But
it's not his job. Alec Baldwin, the actor who pulled the trigger, it's not his fault. And I'm going to stick with that, right? Alec Baldwin, the production company, has some problems, right? Because they didn't look over everything. There is a specific job for someone to look in the gun, pack the gun, put it in there. As an actor, I'm going to walk from A to B to C, and on C, I have to deliver a line, pull up my gun, and shoot. That's what I'm doing as an actor. I'm not looking in there because someone has a specific job for the lights, for the camera. I'm not going to say, hey, is this lens clean? When they say action, my job is to go A to B to C, deliver my lines, and do that at the end of the scene.
Agreed. But in rehearsal, he wasn't supposed to pull the trigger. And this was during a rehearsal, and he claims he didn't. And the FBI is saying that could not have been true. So if he wasn't even supposed to hold it up during rehearsal, and he did, that's a negligent move on an experienced actor who should have looked or been more careful with the gun.
So
I totally disagree.
If you hold your gun up, is you're practicing to be in a Western?
Yes, I mean, that's insane.
No, it's not. At some point on set, you're not supposed to aim it at anyone. You're not supposed to hold it unless someone's checked it.
Who says that?
We went over this many, many times when we talked about safety on set, and some people left hours before Alec Baldwin shot Halyna because they weren't.
But again, it's a mishandling in the chain of events that led to Alec Baldwin. If I'm in a Western, I'm gonna, during rehearsal, do what I need to do because you're gonna repeat that step.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, when they said the rehearsal went down, there was no need for him to have lifted the gun and pointed it at her. If that's the case, and he pulled it, he has culpability.
I think people want to blame Alec Baldwin because they don't like him for what he represents. Right. And is he a narcissist and different things outside?
Sure.
Maybe, but I don't think he's at fault here. People just want to put him away because of who he is, not what he did, in my opinion.
I definitely agree with that. Okay, so a new documentary is looking at the tragic lives of some very funny people. The 10-part series called The Dark Side of Comedy looks at comedians like Richard Pryor, Roseanne Barr, and Andrew Dice Clay. Now, the first episode also looks at the life and death of former SNL star Chris Farley, who died in '97 from an overdose of cocaine and morphine. Take a look.
The first hour drinking with Chris was fun. The second hour drinking with Chris was the most amazing time in your life. But the next 5 hours was brutal.
You're doing comedy to get that response, but there was something different with him.
His eating, drinking, and drug use were escalating, so his old colleagues at Saturday Night Live plotted to save the beloved star.
Wow, that was a tough one. We all loved Chris Farley, but you know, there is a common pattern, Al. You're a comedian, and it seems like that a lot of comedians, whether you look at Chris Farley or even comedians today, they seem to have a dark side or a dark past. Where does that come from?
I mean, it comes from art. Art comes from tragedy and trauma.
Pain.
Yeah, there's a reason that there's no great artists coming out of San Diego. It's beautiful down there. You can't have
All the San Diego artists.
Hip hop came from the drug epidemic. It came from the slums. You need art to you need trauma to create art, and so that's why our best comedians like Richard Pryor grew up in a house of prostitution. You have, unfortunately, the only way that you can get these things that we all love is from something that's terrifying and terrible, and that's why a lot of people that we follow have demons. Pro athletes, celebrity chefs, actors, singers. Everybody has these things that drive them to be great, but then drive them over the edge.
I always thought too when I was on stage, and I'm not a road comic like Al at all, but I would go up in the Comedy Store and I'd kill a couple of times, right? And the feeling you have when you get off stage is a full-on high. Like, I'm talking better than any drug you could do, especially if you want that kind of attention and you like that, right? Afterwards, I'm in the car and we're just gonna go to Chick-fil-A.
Right.
And it's like, I need that high to keep kind of going. And so a lot of time at SNL, they have after parties, and then it's like, no, don't let it drop, don't let it drop. And you just, the vices are right there for you, and it takes a lot of lives.
But to simplify it, just in life in general, you need good things to happen. You need bad things to happen to appreciate that good. This, I think, when we're seeing comedians, this is on the highest level, the darkest of darks, right? When it comes to drug problems, and Chris Farley specifically, who I dearly love. But he was that guy. He wanted that laugh. He wanted to be that fat guy that fell down. He didn't want to do that, but he got that laugh, got that high. And then how dark he got. That's when we see tragedy. But if you want to balance out life, we don't let people fail anymore. How are you supposed to experience good or know that you're moving up in life unless you fail at something? We're not letting anyone fail anymore, right? We just are like, hey, your mediocrity is enough here, buddy. Your good work here forever. It's like, no, it's not, man. No, it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not
like,
reality.
I don't
It's
understand.
unhealthy.
I don't understand the mentality. I feel like I'm 85 years old mowing my lawn.
I'm right there
No,
with
I don't
you.
think so at all. I completely agree.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I share the same philosophy. Okay, so Adele couldn't help but gush about her boyfriend, Rich Paul. In a new interview with Elle UK, Adele said she has never been in love like this. She's obsessed with Rich and will definitely marry him and definitely wants kids with him. Those are her words. Adele and Rich have been dating since last summer. Earlier this year, they bought Sylvester Stallone's Beverly Hills mansion, just for, $58 million. Adele also put any rumors that she's engaged to rest, and she said she wears those giant rings because she loves high-end jewelry.
Yeah, diamonds on her left ring finger. She likes to play. I don't think she's engaged, but I mean, it's a little bit of like, come on. It was confusing on purpose. I'm very happy for Adele. I think she looks fabulous. I think she's going to sound fabulous. But with art, I'm worried if Adele's happy, are we not going to get like?
Oh, that's
I'm
a
not.
good
I'm
point.
serious. Like,
That's a
hello?
really great point.
Like, you know what I mean? We all like someone else.
Right.
What if she's like, I'm good? We're like, this sucks.
I have a question, like, because they're doing this pretty quickly. It's only been like a year, and I know a lot of people would be like, well, you guys are moving way too fast, but isn't that kind of like how it should be? Like when you guys are really in love, or is that irresponsible and you should take it slow?
I don't know, maybe in a year and a half when they're like, why do we buy that $58 million house
so
together?
expensive.
Yeah, it's like, that's a lot
million?
to divvy up the
You guys
assets
are moving fast.
from that.
Yeah.
That's moving a little fast. That's a big jump.
I think so too, but I think wealthy people have that privilege. When you don't have that much money, a lot of people will stay in marriages because they can't afford to get divorced, because they can't afford to live on their own. So you do see a lot of wealthy people make those risky decisions because they know at the worst case scenario, they have more money, they have more resources.
Safety net.
Or you could just go to the other side of the house. You don't even have to divorce. You're just like, I'm in the west wing.
Exactly.
You stay in the east wing.